If you don't like it, then f*** off. You sound more like a corporate shill than a genuine person. I'm Adrian, the cruise and travel guy, and in today's video, something different. Let's go through some of the comments that some of you have been leaving on my videos, some of the more recent ones in particular, and I'll let you know what I really think. I've been doing this for a few years now, so I'm used to getting comments that don't always agree with what I say. That's completely fine. I'm always up for debate and discussing different points because we all have a different point of view. But sometimes some of the comments that come through are just ridiculous. They're off base. People actually have clearly not watched the video to understand what I've said, but that hasn't stopped them from writing a comment. And while for the most part, I do try and err on the side of diplomacy, I'll either ignore or say thanks for your comment. Kind of had enough actually. I've sort of reached the point now where I think if you can dish it, you can take it. And I'll be clear, this is meant to be fun and funny, and I hope that it is for most of you. For some of you, it won't be. Oh well. So all of these comments have come from my most recent video about the state of the New Zealand cruise industry. And I did cover that at the request of viewers in the past. I've obviously covered a lot of Australia's cruise industry woes, and I was asked to have a look at New Zealand, so I did that off the back of some changes there that were occurring to do with the government increasing costs for cruise liners to have their passengers arrive by a cruise ship. Here's a comment from Warwick Bishop who says, "We really do not need these moving hotels coming here. I doubt that really interested passengers will be worried about a few more dollars. If they are and don't come here, that is fine too. We do not need penny pinching tourists coming here." The first thing that's wrong with your comment, Warwick, is that the passengers are not the ones being charged the extra money here. The issue, as identified in the video and what I explained very clearly, is that these changes to the cost for passengers coming into the country have not been done with enough notice so that cruise lines are footing the bill. Cruise lines can afford it. I'm not really worried about that. But what this is doing, there's a snowball effect here where cruise lines are now using any excuse to pull out of markets. This is one of them. So this isn't about cruise passengers paying that money because cruise lines will effectively build any increase in fees and taxes into the fare so that we pay for it. So just keep that in mind that when governments start increasing costs against companies, it's you and I that generally pay for it anyway. And it's no different in the cruise industry. That's exactly what will happen here. So while I don't totally disagree with your comment, and it's quite fair, you don't want penny pinching tourists in any market, I wouldn't either, but that really wasn't the point. This one's fun. The New Zealand government will protect New Zealand from greedy corporations. If you don't like it, then f*** off. We are a small country and don't like bullies. You sound more like a corporate shill than a genuine person. Yes, I'm a corporate shill. Actually, I've never accepted a single dollar from a cruise line to do anything, and I never would, quite frankly, because that's not how I operate. Not only do I pay for 99% of the cruises that I do, I would refuse money from a cruise line if that was ever offered. I would never, ever do that. My audience, you guys, that's where I'm investing my time in because this relationship is the most important one to me, not one with any cruise line. So I hope that puts that to bed about being a corporate shill. And as far as the greedy corporations comment goes, I mean, we'll cover more of this because there are other comments of a similar nature, but basically get a clue. Wayne McKenzie says, if 88 ships visit to my local port this summer is hurting their wallets, bad luck, don't want them here at all. Stop crying, always the same when it's not your local port. Crocodile tears, boo-hoo. What? Literally have no idea what that means. I'm trying to piece it together, but I really can't. No one's crying. It's just facts of business and life, and government need to do better. That's all. Warren Craig 100 says, who needs ice cream tourists? Tourist. I assume this means tourists that come off a ship and buy an ice cream. Maybe, I'm not actually sure, but I have one question. What's wrong with ice cream? Another comment says the environmental risk outweighs the few dollars the cruises bring. Goodbye cruises, whinging doesn't impress me. Well, I'm so sorry that my video didn't impress you. The environmental risks are definitely real and they need to be something that cruise lines and government look into. Like I've indicated in most of my videos, I'm not someone who just thinks that the cruise lines and cruise industry is some incredible, infallible thing. Far from it. But cutting off an entire industry for the sake of environmental benefits is very short-sighted, because the reality is that there are ways to mitigate environmental risk. A lot of that has to do with shore power that is now coming across and coming through. Sydney's White Bay will now be using shore power very, very soon. Hopefully that expands to other ports as well. That will mean that cruise ships can come in, dock, plug in, and not actually generate their own power and burn fuel in port. And regarding the few dollars that the cruise industry brings into any country, I mean, that's just wrong, innately wrong. The cruise industry in this region is worth billions of dollars, and that economic activity does impact locals. It impacts local tour operators, it impacts travel agents, suppliers. When cruise ships have to restock their ships, they're doing that locally as well. When the taxi driver takes the passengers to the airport or to a hotel before the cruise or after the cruise, there's so much more that goes into this. It is not just a case of a few dollars. So again, that's just short-sightedness, and yeah, maybe that's a government official. To me, in post-COVID times, you are a bit silly actually going on a cruise. They are germ factories. Okay, so if a cruise ship is a germ factory, I would love to know how you ever go shopping, because clearly you avoid shopping centers, elevators in shopping centers, going out at all. I went to the theater very recently to watch a show with a good friend, and I mean, I could hear the digestion of the person next to me. So you want to talk about germ factories? I'm pretty sure a theater in any local city would really give a cruise ship a run for its money. Anyone that's been on a cruise knows that there are risks associated with being next to or with a group of a few thousand people. Sure, you're basically at sea in a little city environment, so that stands to reason. But in terms of reality, cruise ships are actually maintained to a much higher standard of cleanliness and hygiene compared to most places on land. I've stayed in plenty of hotels, and I can't say that I've ever seen staff or cleaners walking around wiping down buttons and railings and any other touch points. But go on any cruise and you will see that repeatedly throughout each voyage. Ultimately, nothing exists within a vacuum, but these broad sweeping statements that accuse the cruise industry of being this or that, it's just not true in its entirety. Of course, there's truth to everything in some degree, but the way that some of these comments come across, it's just, you clearly don't like it, and that's fine. You don't have to, but don't spill crap. I am sick of hearing about the financial benefits of mass tourism when the reality is cruisers spend next to nothing other than a cup of coffee or cheap souvenirs. Perhaps you need to take a look at the cruise lines themselves and the margins they make on tours, etc., if you are concerned about price gouging. So to be clear, I'm not concerned about price gouging from your government's perspective. It is what it is. The government can charge whatever it wants for whatever process it wants, but there will be impacts from those charges. Short-term windfall of hiking up an excise or a fee, great, that must look really good on the balance sheet. But fast forward 5 years or 10 years when the industry reacts to those changes and begins to pull back on its business in the country, and then you'll start to see a different side of government coming back to recoup what they had lost. It's really all cyclical anyway, and that's business and economics. And as for passengers only buying a cup of coffee, it's been proven time and time again that that is not the case. And of course there are exceptions to this. Some passengers will likely just get off, have a walk around town, and get back on the ship. At minimum, most people will have booked a cruise line shore excursion, which still goes to supporting local tour operators. Yes, the cost for cruise tours booked through cruise lines is borderline ridiculous, and in many cases that's a reason why people do book independent private shore excursions with, I think and believe, more money going to local operators. I don't disagree that cruise line shore excursions are overpriced for the most part. In some markets and some places, it's safer to take a cruise ship shore excursion. In a place like New Zealand, I would have absolutely no hesitation in booking a private shore excursion or doing my own thing, and I've done that many times, and I know plenty of other people that have as well. So to suggest that we're only spending $2.50 or $5 when we're in your country is not true, accurate, or right, or really representative of the truth at all. And I actually did some research into this to find some statistics, and I'll link to the report below, but essentially they have suggested that there is per passenger spend in the Bay of Islands of around $225 and then through to $1,212 in a place like Auckland, where obviously passengers are engaging with a lot more to do with pre and post cruise spending, whether that's hotels or tours or restaurants or other things in a bigger city. And so yes, there are people that will get off and spend a couple of bucks, but there are also other people that will spend thousands. This comment's short and punchy, which is sort of fun. So what? Okay. So what? Cruise passengers are not the tourists we want. Go away. I'm not exactly sure what to make of that, but 5 people liked it, so it's good to know that the video did the rounds in the anti-cruise circles anyway. I know that that was something a little bit different. Like I said, normally I wouldn't necessarily reply to all of these comments. I certainly wouldn't make a video about it. But yeah, it's an impassioned bunch. I like passionate conversation and discourse and debate. Debate though, I actually like facts. So present facts, present reports, say things that actually make sense. You are more than welcome and entitled to your opinion on any topic, especially on my videos, but if you're just gonna spew something like, so what? I mean, it is what it is. This is what I've signed up for, to make videos like this, and I'm completely open to that. And ultimately, engagement is engagement, and I'm quite happy for it. So please keep it coming. I don't know that I'll be making many more of these, but yeah, bit of fun. Why not? For the rest of it, I'm going to continue to make my content my way. I don't work for any cruise line. I never have, I never will, and I will continue to bring you my individual reviews, independent reviews, my take on things from my perspective. And in most cases, 99% of the time, I've spent my money like you do so that I can bring you content, whether it's reviews or ship tours or cruise news as well. Doesn't mean I'm always right. That's just my perspective and my point. So I hope that you enjoy my videos in general and that you continue to watch and follow along. And if you want to see more behind the scenes stuff, you can head over to Facebook and Instagram at The Cruise and Travel Guy. And I think that's it for now. I'm going to go and have a coffee.